The monetary order is breaking down.
The issue is more political than economic.
Integrity of currencies and the central banks that stand behind them.
That we live in an era of great power rivalry. That the rules-based order is fading.
How do we value gold when there are no earnings? There's no multiples to base this on.
The truth of the matter is that it trades someone on perception. It trades someone on perception around our central bank.
Whether that's a good reason to own gold at $4,000, I don't know.
Old world, real economy that's done really well this year and away from asset light.
The biggest market to move last year was the gold market, far better than the tech markets.
Right. Something massive just happened in the markets right now, and most people don't realize what they're actually witnessing. In the past few weeks, we have seen a brutal tech sell-off. Many stocks that were supposed to be safe have gotten absolutely destroyed. These are software companies, AI darlings, a lot of big names that a lot of people thought were untouchable, down 20, 30, and even in some cases, 40%. At the same time, gold just hit $5,400 an ounce, and it's up 2 times since this time last year. Central banks right now are buying gold right now at the fastest pace in history, and the crazy part is gold is now held by more central banks as a reserve asset than any other point in modern history. Meanwhile, the US is currently sitting on $38 trillion of debt. Foreign countries are dumping US treasuries. All of these things happening is no coincidence. Right now, we are currently going through what is called a capital rotation event. And it's important to understand what's happening right now. Otherwise, you're gonna watch your wealth get quietly transferred towards people who are paying attention. So let me start out by explaining what capital rotation actually is. It's one of those terms that sound kind of complicated, but it's actually pretty simple once you understand it. Basically, capital rotation happens when money moves from one type of asset class or an investment to another asset class. And it's not just a couple of investors changing their mind. It's when entire markets, entire countries, and entire central banks start shifting their money in the same direction at the same time. Because throughout history, money has gone through different cycles. Sometimes the stock market will be the best place to be. Sometimes it's bonds. Sometimes it's real estate. And right now, it's actually in hard assets like gold and commodities. These rotations typically last 5 to 10 years, okay? Money cycles. And when they happen, there's usually a major shift in how the world works, possibly a change in the monetary system, a geopolitical crisis, a debt problem. If we compare the S&P 500 against gold, gold is winning. If we compare the NASDAQ against gold, gold is winning. The dollar against gold, gold is also winning. Even inflation against gold, gold is outpacing it. So this happened in the 1930s during the Great Depression. It also happened in the 70s with stagflation. And it also happened in the early 2000s after the dot-com bust. And it's starting to happen again right now. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on with this tech sell-off, because this wasn't just a normal pullback, it was more or less a warning shot. Now, for years, tech was going up like crazy. It was actually a pretty safe bet to invest in one of the Mag 7 companies. Maybe you bought the S&P 500, in which the Mag 7 makes up a huge component of, and you made really, really good returns. It was that simple. It was like this for a few years. Mag 7 has huge profit margins. They basically are cash printing machines. They dominated their industries, and for the most part, seemingly untouchable because of how much cash they generate and how much market cap they take up relative to the rest of the market. But something has now changed because a lot of people realize that we're not yet in this period of time where we could actually harvest and reap the benefits of what we sowed when it comes to AI CapEx investment. Data centers, chips, energy that these companies are paying for have made investors start asking, well, when are we going to start making some money from all of this spending? The CEO of Anthropic has actually made public statements that he expects AI to disrupt 50% of white-collar jobs in the next 1 to 5 years. That's an extremely bold statement.
You've said AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20% in the next 1 to 5 years.
Yes,
that's shocking.
That is the future we could see.
There's also a little bit of paradox because the entire stock market is valued based on companies' future earnings. But if AI starts to replace workers, and workers are the one who generate income for themselves and pay taxes and buy stuff to stimulate the economy, then where are these earnings coming from? Right now, we don't really have an answer to something like that yet. And overall, with all this AI risk right now, Markets hate uncertainty. Markets can handle bad news, but they absolutely hate uncertainty. And when there is uncertainty, investors would prefer to sell first, then ask questions later. So right now, what we're seeing isn't just a tech sell-off, but it's also uncertainty in this growth story that the entire market has been built on in this 3-year bull run that we're currently in, which basically all started around the time that ChatGPT was first released. So when confidence breaks, all of this money doesn't just disappear, it rotates and it moves from one asset class to another, somewhere that investors deem to be safer based on what's going on externally in the markets. And that somewhere currently isn't something that depends on future promises or the labor market. Right now, that somewhere is gold. So let's talk about gold, because what's happening with gold right now is pretty crazy. If we take a look at the gold chart, we are at an all-time high for gold. From early last year at 2,600, it's gone up over 100%. And the crazy thing about this gold surge is that it's not retail nor institutional investors that are driving up the price of gold. It's actually central banks. Central banks around the world bought more gold in 2024 than in any year in modern history. Then they bought even more in 2025.
Fiat currencies and debt as a storehold of wealth is not being held by central banks in the same way.
Central banks are the ones who print money, and they have decided that they don't want to hold fiat currency right now. They want to shift to gold. Gold is now the second largest reserve asset in the world. It's not yen, it's not the euro, it's certainly not the Canadian dollar. It's gold. So for the first time in 30 years, gold has actually surpassed US Treasuries as the largest foreign reserve asset held by central banks. And today, foreign central banks hold nearly $4 trillion worth of gold compared to $3.9 trillion in US Treasury holdings. Which banks are the biggest buyers? Poland actually has 28% of their reserves held in gold. China was buying for 15 months straight up until January 2025. India, Turkey, and Brazil are also loading up on gold as well. So why is this happening? It's because central banks don't trust the system anymore. For decades, the whole global financial system worked because everyone agreed to hold US Treasuries as the reserve asset. US debt was considered safe and liquid. And if you were a central bank, you held US Treasuries. That's basically the rule. But something happened in 2022 that sort of broke this rule. And that is when US and their allies froze Russian reserves after the Ukraine invasion. And they seized hundreds of billions of dollars in Russian assets and kicked them out of the SWIFT group.
In February 2022, several Russian and Belarusian banks were barred from the SWIFT network as part of economic sanctions after Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
And every other country on earth saw this happening and thought to themselves, well, what if we're next? What if we get kicked out of SWIFT? Countries all around the world then realized that keeping their money in the Western financial system maybe isn't as safe as they would think. In fact, it could also be instantly taken away if you upset the US government. So they started to diversify. And the safest, most neutral asset they could find was gold. Now with gold, it's safe for a few reasons for banks. The first is that there's no counterparty risk. A government cannot just print more gold. No one can freeze or sanction gold. It just exists because it exists. And that's why gold is currently surging right now. And it's because the world has started to shift away from a purely dollar-based system. So let's talk a little bit about US debt. US national debt is currently sitting at $38.7 trillion, and it's growing by $8 billion every single day. And the interesting fact is that interest payments on all this debt is now surpassing $1 trillion a year.
Spending more on interest payments than on defense, it's beginning to crowd out discretionary spending.
That means as a country, the US is now paying more in interest than what they spend on their entire national defense. Where it gets worse is that foreign buyers are also disappearing. So for a long time, countries like China, Japan, all bought US Treasuries, and they recycled their trade surpluses back into US debt. That kept interest rates low and allowed the US to continue to borrow more cheaply. But that's all starting to change now because China has been dumping treasuries. Japan is actually now being forced to sell to defend their own currency.
If you look at China's holdings of treasuries, they were about 1.3 trillion about a dozen years ago. Now that's come off a lot, to the extent that their treasury holdings are only about 682 billion.
Make sure to check out my video up top there if you want to know what's going on with the Japanese yen and the Japanese economy. Now, this all begs the question, who is buying US debt now? Because after 3 years of reducing their balance sheet through quantitative tightening, the Fed has started to quietly reverse course late last year in December, and they started to buy treasuries again.
As detailed in a statement released today by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, reserve management purchases will amount to $40 billion in the first month and may remain elevated for a few months to alleviate expected near-term pressures in money markets.
They're not calling it quantitative easing, but they're calling it reserve management. It's basically very similar, if not the same thing. Basically, the balance sheet is growing again, and the US is once again expanding the money supply, partly to absorb some of its own debt. Now, of course, the US isn't just the only holder of US debt. It's a combination of domestic and foreign holders now. But right now, US debt to GDP is above 120%, which is pretty high. And the only way to get out of this debt is to either cut spending, raise tax revenue for the government, print more money, and therefore devalue the currency. Obviously, the government is not going to cut spending. Raising taxes also doesn't really work either, and it upsets a lot of people. And so the only option left is to print more money. And that's exactly what Ray Dalio has warned us about. He actually has said that our grandchildren are going to be paying off this debt in devalued dollars. He's also said that debt crises like this develop slowly until they happen all at once.
There's an imbalance. They print money, devalue the currency, and create an artificially low interest rate.
So in other words, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren not yet born are going to be paying off this debt in devalued dollars, more or less.
It's going to happen faster than that.
And so that's why gold is surging right now. And that's why central banks are diversifying, because they can see what's coming and they're getting out of the way. Now, I also want to talk about tariffs, because there's been a lot of recent news about tariffs, and it's, kind of a piece of the puzzle as well. In Davos, all of the world leaders came together and they openly discussed the end of globalization and the beginning of a new world order.
Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America.
Now, for the last 80 years, the world worked on a very, very specific monetary system, and that is that the US is kind of like the center of everything, and the US dollar was the reserve currency. This allowed countries to trade freely with global supply chains, and everyone played by these rules that the US was the center. But that system is now starting to break down. So last week, the Supreme Court actually ruled out Trump's tariffs and said that they were unconstitutional. And then he tried to reimpose them again under a completely different law.
Boosting the 10% tariff rate on all global trading partners, announced on Friday, to 15%.
But his plan with tariffs was always to use them, the tariff revenue, to reduce the trade deficit by passing on that tax to regular people. Tariffs make imported goods, like stuff that comes from China, more expensive, but it makes local manufacturing more attractive, which has always been a part of the President of the United States' plan. But tariffs also tie directly into capital rotation, because when the US imposed tariffs on their trading partners, those countries will retaliate by selling US treasuries and moving that money into hard assets. And then that kind of reduces investor confidence in the US dollar as well. And so right now, asset classes like gold, commodities, energy, and infrastructure, that's what has intrinsic value today, regardless of what happens to the dollar. If you're wondering how to position yourself, a lot of clients have been asking me the same question. So Ray Dalio has been recommending 5 to 15% of your portfolio in gold. It's because he sees investment in gold as a hedge against this de-dollarization trend that we're seeing, which is basically the premise of this whole video. I've been asked many times by clients, what's the best way to get into gold without buying physical gold bars? And I usually say a gold ETF is the best way to go, because when you buy a gold mining stock, you are not actually buying gold. When you buy a gold mining stock, you're investing in a company that mines gold, and you're also exposing yourself to some of the idiosyncratic risks of holding stock of a single company, including operations, supply chain, management decisions, government regulations, etc., etc.
Last cycle, we definitely saw a lot of transformative M&A, which was very value disruptive. So that last cycle from 2000 to 2012, the 10 biggest gold stocks in our coverage universe cumulatively burnt $10 billion in free cash.
So unless you are really comfortable with how mining companies work, and you have the time to study individual mining companies, then I would highly recommend a gold ETF. It's going to give you the best overall exposure, and that's the next best thing to actually holding physical gold. I also want to talk about hard assets like real estate, energy, and infrastructure. These have very little AI risk. They also have intrinsic value, regardless of what happens to the US dollar. Now, real estate, energy, and infrastructure, right? These three industries typically have a lot more debt on their balance sheets because they are much more capital intensive than, let's say, a software company. Software companies can print cash with 80% gross margins. At the same time, hard assets are also much more susceptible much more susceptible to small changes in interest rates. And many of them will generate operating cash flow, as a normal business would, but usually not a ton of free cash flow because they have to spend all of their cash on CapEx. At a very high level, this is how companies that have hard assets differ from, say, a software company, which I know we've been talking a lot about on this channel recently. Next is dividend-paying stocks. Now, there are a lot of different schools of thought when it comes to investing, especially online, right? You have the swing traders, the dividend guys, the tech fans, the people who buy mostly indexed fund ETFs. I am personally a fan of dividend stocks because I think they're pretty low risk and they're pretty safe. And it also allows you to get exposure to some industries like banks, consumer staples, utilities, healthcare. And these companies, they will continue to pay you a dividend regardless of what's happening in the market. And the stock prices for dividends tend to be pretty stable.